Hi everyone, I'm at Embedded World with my colleague Parv and Vitali Louiti, Senior Director of Segment Strategy at Imagination. And yeah, we're here to talk about what's going on with Imagination and some of the key trends we've seen at the show. So over to Vitali.
Good to be here, guys. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Here.
Embedded World. It was quite an interesting 3 days, actually. I remember coming as a little child to my first expo, and I still have the same feeling.
Okay.
There's been countless startups and big companies, new technology, always at the forefront, always something cool to show off. Tons of the innovation actually comes from the smaller companies, and it's just nice going through the booths and just talking to people. It's always also nice because we seem to meet old friends all the time. Every 10 feet is going to be a person I know.
Can you talk a bit about Imagination and the new products that are coming?
Sure. So Imagination has been around for a long time. We've sold billions of units. We're a GPU IP supplier. So our partners are SoC makers who are in every segment. We're in mobile, we're in automotive, PC, consumer, IoT. Some of the biggest names in the industry are using our IP. And because we're at the central place of many things, we enjoy lots of collaboration. At the same time, because of the big trend with RISC-V, you can see it around so many RISC-V designs.
Yes.
We are the go-to GPU provider for that. So we're always at the right place at the right time for big innovations. And obviously, Imagination focuses a lot on edge use cases where you need power efficiency. And we combine it now with the trends around artificial intelligence. And this kind of is like the pillars of what we do. We make sure that we have power efficient GPU designs. We are moving towards a future where ML is everywhere. And we make sure that our technologies has the flexibility it needs to be successful, not just for us, but for our partners as well.
I think you guys have done really good with the newer DXTP GPUs that have come into the picture. Can you talk a bit about how the improvements are from a power efficiency perspective and how the overall design is? Because it's still a limited IP game, right? We don't have a lot of IP players specifically when it comes to GPU.
Yeah, well, it's quite a few of us. I see the lists of AI accelerator companies that are countless companies, GPUs, few players. Makes sense because you need a lot of investment. And we have had decades of investment on our software, making sure that we have optimized libraries. DXTP is yet another product which hyper focuses on power efficiency. It's 20% more efficient than the previous D series designs. That's one of the key things that makes us stand out. Obviously, we focus a lot on edge use cases where this is the most important thing. And if you compare us not just at the performance, but at the performance per watt, obviously we're doing extremely well. And this will continue. Our next design, which we will be showcasing in a few months from now, is again going to be hyper focused on that.
Okay, so if we dig a bit deeper on the application side, so what are the key top 2 applications that you think are going to drive this business going forward, and a little bit into on how the AI is being integrated across those verticals?
Good question. So we are very much very embedded in the automotive market, and there we have a significant market share in GPU, mainly because our partners are enjoying quite a big success. So a large portion of cars right now are using Imagination. And obviously, a lot of the things that are important in the automotive are important in other markets. And slowly you will see a lot of the fundamental technologies that we have, like extremely good functional safety and virtualization, will be extremely useful for robotics use cases as well. And we see this as a journey that will lead us towards a future of humanoid robotics down the line. At the same time, we are quite pervasive around edge endpoints quite a lot. We have a very good position in mobile, consumer IoT, everywhere where you need small, super efficient GPUs that can do a lot of things. DXTP obviously is a large part of that. We are now able to run both graphics and compute at the same time. We have a synchronous compute, which helps us run multiple workloads simultaneously. And that is pretty much a use case that is useful for everyone.
Yeah, so just to summarize, I think automotive and then maybe the robotics is the next big thing.
I see robotics as a segment that is just going to take over everything. I honestly think it's going to be trillions of dollars in TAM, and I believe that it's going to be ultimately be part of GDP of countries. We are obviously going to, the initial stages are what we're seeing now, industrial automation, and slowly it's going to move up, very much like automotive has done.
It's just still the same, like it can be counted as a robotics, like with autonomous driving, ADAS. That's basically robotics.
Very similar requirements, use cases. The functional safety that you require in autonomous driving, very similar to that in robotics. And once you have those initial fundamental technologies, you can obviously leverage them in robotics as well. At the same time, we see design wins across the board, really. So we think we're just going to have more and more people enjoying our technology.
A lot of the kind of companies we've spoken to, they're trying to run edge AI on, the CPU, but you guys are very much a GPU company. So I guess what advantages are there on running the edge AI on the GPU compared to the CPU, and what can you basically deliver that would not be available, on the CPU?
Great question. So in heterogeneous computing, we see the GPU as an integral block in order to run those future ML workloads, or even the current ones. The CPU alone, we don't think is capable enough to run those advanced workloads. Obviously, a lot of innovation has happened with extending it, but at the same time, the GPU is a natural choice for those because of its parallel computing capabilities. We see us as an integral part of that future, and you can see that as well from all of the designs, especially in mobile, where the GPU has become larger and larger, taking so much more of the responsibility in running those workloads.
The overall, I think, if you look at the die as well, the content is increasing, and that is mainly, I think, by the GPU or the addition of the NPU to the picture as well.
Correct. In some designs, it actually makes sense saving area, not using an NPU and just running those workloads in a GPU. Obviously, there are compromises to be made, but for most premium designs, I would assume that you would have a very performance CPU, big GPU that can run all of these things flexibly and can be programmable enough, and an NPU to do a lot of the low power workloads.
I think overall chipset vendors also have to keep the price low. If you look at the entry level segment, you cannot have a dedicated NPU that's powerful enough to drive all the AI agents on edge.
Exactly. NPUs very often have to be redone whenever there is a new requirement. GPUs do have that flexibility, kind of work for a long time. Imagination also has that capability in terms of providing support for everything. Linux, Android, DirectX, OpenGL, OpenGL-ES. It's quite a powerful block to have.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because from a developer perspective, there needs to be a big support, right? Especially when you're entering into this ecosystem. We see competitors doing for the buying companies and then setting up, and if you call company board, it's a edge first company, and getting more of the developers to be on your platform and kind of utilize that into the end applications, making it easier for them to get these use cases, and that easier for OEMs to deploy these use cases. Developers still remain to be, it's again a chicken and egg problem, but But you have to start somewhere.
True. And the developer ecosystem makes or breaks
Yeah.
the success of a product. In order for you to be successful, you need developers to kind of develop on you. And for that to happen, it needs to be easy.
Okay. Cool. I think just in a bit of time, let's just think from like embedded world. What are your key takeaways? Like, what do you find? Yes, it's a key gist that is coming out of the event, and what are you interested with? What things you like?
I really enjoyed this event. It was 3 days of tons of innovation. As I said, I really like that there were so many European companies that had few people that had
Yeah.
very interesting use cases. It seems that innovation never stops. Obviously, we've seen hundreds of use cases around edge AI. It's obviously the next best thing. At the same time, every other area has seen major investment. I was also happy to see things that were more niche. We've seen a few neuromorphic companies out there, but it was quite enjoyable. I think it was just a nice environment to just see what's happening in the world and where the next 10 years will take us. At the same time, there were quite a few robotics companies that we discussed that I honestly think will just be the future of the world going forward.
I think you raised some good points. I think one key thing that I also saw was that there is this geopolitics has affected the world. So there is like localization happening. Everyone wants to design and manufacture. So there are a lot of startups and even the bigger companies are now showcasing that this is designed in Europe and this is built in Europe. So I think that is a good aspect to look at. I think Europe also looking at from a design and manufacturing perspective. I think it's going to get more aggressive with all the regions and geopolitics that is getting out there. But Taimur, like, what's your view on the event?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a very interesting event. Definitely a lot of innovation, I think, as Vitali said, and Edge AI, I think, was probably the core theme. I think everyone had some form of Edge AI and running AI on the end devices and avoiding the cloud. I think that's something I really noticed. And just I think something I personally found interesting was some of the UWB and Wi-Fi 7 kind of combinations, especially in the enterprise solutions, where you have a Wi-Fi 7 router with a UWB kind of also within the same router. So that enables obviously the connectivity side from the Wi-Fi 7. Then you also get location tracking. You get the kind of security components that the UWB brings, and it kind of widens the use case for these enterprise routers. And that's all embedded within a single device. So I think that that was a really interesting thing. But I mean, Edge AI, of course, was the key kind of takeaway.
That drives the whole GPU NPU story overall. So thanks, Vitali, for saving this time for us to have this chat.
Of course, thank you.
And thanks, Taimur.
A pleasure.
Thank you.